Hey everyone, and welcome to a video that is going to be a bit of a bash, but this is why Taylor guitars suck. And okay, so just because I know a million people have thrown their hats out of the pram and go whoa 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 and turn the video off right now, to explain, I've got this Taylor 114CE on the bench. It is a customer's guitar. And this is probably not amazingly straight anymore, but it's nice and light so it doesn't damage the top. Look at how much deflection that is. That's a whole finger and more. So that is an awful lot of belly. So we came in to try and lower the action because it's 4.5mm, which is higher than most classical guitars. And I basically said, look, we can take the saddle down, but you're only going to get maybe 1mm out of it, so you can get it down to 3.5. But really what we've got to address is this bellying of the top. So I will put up somewhere here, I think, the Taylor Guitars warranty form. And this guitar is pretty much brand new. I think it was bought like 6 months ago. But this has voided its warranty because of their humidification clause. Basically, they would have soaked up too much humidity, and I want to tell you why that is basically bullshit. Excuse my French. So what I've got here, when I unlock my phone, is an endoscope, and I'm going to start recording now, and we are going to take a little look at the internals of this Taylor, bearing in mind that the 114CE in the UK retails at £879 British pounds. These are made in Mexico, and I am going to compare it to a few other guitars that aren't Taylor's, which are more affordable, and we're going to compare the internals. So, I've got this rolling. The first thing I noticed when this is going to be a little shaky and it's a bit hard to control, but hopefully I can do it justice. So you see that neck block? That does not, I mean, it's not even a block, that is a sheet of plywood which doesn't even, see if I can get real close to this, it doesn't even go right down to the bottom there. These cameras are difficult to, there we go, my arm was in the way. It doesn't even attach to the back plate there, so that in itself is no good. But it's about 1.5mm thick bit of plywood. That is your end block. That is a constructional thing inside the body. That is literally just a lump of ply. GA there on the lining means Grand Auditorium Body. So if I fling it back here, try and recenter myself, you can see that the lining at the top there doesn't even go all the way to the neck block, which is also a constructional thing. And see that white little thing there? That's on the back. That is an RFID chip. So that, yeah, there we go. That little white patch basically is a chip to scan the guitar for warranty issues. If you're a Taylor guy, it helps them throughout the building process to know which backs belong to which guitars. A big thing which you can see is that the back has no bracing on it whatsoever. It's not joined in the middle. That is one solid sheet of plywood, which is not great in my opinion. But okay, if you make a decent enough ply, then it should hold. the reason why I call this lining and not kerfing is because it's not got the kerf slots added to it. It is literally lining. So that's also plywood. God, this camera's difficult to control. But you can also see there's a lot of glue spurge. See that? There's glue spurge absolutely everywhere on this guitar. What I want to show you is that in the corners, oh, is it on the top? That's probably easier on this side. The bend in this camera. The kerfing is doubled up so it goes over the bracing. It's a bit hard to see in this shot. I might have to get... there you go. Yeah. Everything's backwards and forwards and right is left, but you can see there's a doubling of that kerfing there, so it oversteps the brace. That is a faux overstep. The braces just butt up to the standard kerfing and another little bit of wood is stuck on top. Not ideal. It doesn't even conform to the sides, it's just packed full of glue. Yeah, like that's wonderful. I got this endoscope and it is like 5 meters long. It is not ideal. I should have got like a 30cm one. I don't know why. I think they only had a 5 meter one in stock. Let's see. Yeah, look at all that glue spurge on the bridge plate. The funny thing is as well is the photos online of this ES2 system, I'll put it up here somewhere, is a completely different bridge plate. Completely different guitar to what I'm seeing here, which is funny. Will I be able... You know what, let's slacken these strings off. Then I'll really be able to get in there. Cool. I'll see. Oh yeah. This is the X brace join. And this is a butt joint. Let's see if I can really, yeah. So that is 3 bits of timber, butt jointed together with no top cap on it. Lots of glue spurge. It really, so the X brace is the main rigidity. You want 2 bits overlapping each other so it can conform uniformly. If you've got 1 straight bit and then 2 bits that butt up against each other, those 2 can move independently. So what most people do is put a little cap of wood over the top, which kind of helps it all be 1 unit. It's not ideal, it's a shortcut, but they haven't even done that. And then if we look down behind the bridge plate, there is 1 singular tone bar. 1 singular tone bar is the reason why this has got such a big belly, especially behind the bridge. There is no reinforcement there whatsoever. Generally, there are 2 bars. So this bar comes from the top end side brace down the body. But really, a lot of companies do it the other way around, from the thickest string down the body, and have 2 bars, if not 3. or a little popsicle. So this is like a little popsicle, what I call a popsicle brace. They probably have a proper dubbed term. But that is, I mean, all of these braces are just kind of flat cut, really like not chamfered in at all, not really finished very well. You can see this one, they used a too blunt a saw, so it's literally just been burnt. God, can I get that? See that? So that has just been burnt by a machine. It looks pretty, but yeah, that is gone way too hot. Same on the other sides here. Yeah, that's burning. You can see there's burn. And they just butt straight up to the braces. It's all quite gappy. There is, take that out, move around to this side. There is the Taylor Guitar's neck block there. The neck block's not terrible, but you don't want a neck block to be. Oh, sorry, that's this camera. It can only record 10 minutes. You don't want a neck block to be terrible. So that's a bit of mahogany. This is also a bit of mahogany, I think. No, that's the transverse brace. What am I looking at here? I don't really know what's going on there. It's all a bit choppy. That's the bolt that bolts on the fingerboard. That looks like just some softwood. That's a shim. Okay. It's one of the Taylor shims, I think. Yeah, you can just kind of tell that. Oh yeah, the controlling this camera is a skill in itself. There you can see the doubled up kerfing, how the doubling steps over the braces to hold them in place, but not the actual kerfing. So that is just a time save measure. But yeah, so that's the internals of the Taylor. So pretty shoddy brace work. The end block is just remarkably thin. Let me pop that battery pack out, and then I'm doing it with this camera now, but you can see through the battery box there how thick that neck block is. It's that little rough white bit right there. That's how thick it is. That is 4mm. So you got a 4mm end block there. Let's turn that off now. So basically, Taylor guitars have this humidity clause in their contract. So if it gets a belly like this, they basically say it's soaked up too much humidity and it's not warrantable within their system. However, this, in my opinion, is actually a bracing issue. They put one reverse tone bar in it, which isn't doing the job it needs to be doing. So the top has completely pulled up. Whether it's soaked up humidity or not, that amount of deflection in the top should not be caused in this short space of time from humidity. That is like if the guitar's 2 or 3 years old and has really been in a really wet place. This guitar is 6 months, if that, old, and it is completely deformed already. So these guitars are just built with a sell-by date, basically. Yeah, it's not very pretty to see. So what I'm going to do, this guitar, bear in mind, is £879 retail. So let's get rid of this Taylor and let's grab a Mayson guitar. So Mayson, M-A-Y-S-O-N, is what we got in instead of Taylor, and they are modern lutherie, is what Taylor say they are. It's all modern lutherie using modern tooling. I mean, bear in mind, Taylor invented mass-produced acoustic guitars and the production line for acoustics. So they've invented some incredible tools, and I love a lot of their tools, actually in a lot of senses more so than their instruments. But let's have a little look in these internals and see what the difference is. This guitar is £875, so it's £4 cheaper, and you still get a bag. Cool, okay, strings are loose. Let's restart this camera. Bam. And let's get inside the thing. If I'm not all twisted up. God, this camera's way too long. Well, the battery bag's fallen off. Okay, so the battery bag's fallen off. It's much worse. No, okay, first thing, end block. Look at that. That is a nice solid bit of carved mahogany. Okay, what I will say, and not a great thing, is that the grain is going horizontally in this mahogany. So it's following the sides. No, that's the correct way around. Yeah. So if it was going vertically towards the top and the back, you're gluing the top and the back to end grain, and that's not so good. So actually, sorry, it's going the correct way, because you're not gluing the top and the back to end grain. So that's a nice feature. Sorry, end of the day, I had to get my brain in order. But that is really nicely carved. Also, the kerfing is actually kerfing. It is mahogany. It is curved, so it's got those slots, those carved slots out of it. And you can see a nice shot there that the kerfing is actually notched, so the braces fit into that kerfing. Not only does that help position the top, but it also gives a bit of structural rigidity on those braces. So speaking of braces, let's have a little look. Here is the bridge plate, which also looks like mahogany. Let's get my hand in there because I'm tangled in some cables. Yeah, that is a thin plate of mahogany for the bridge plate. So that's nice. And then you can also see if I can figure out where I am. Yeah, so here's the X, yeah. And then there are 2 tone bars in this one. And they've been not perfectly, but well carved for this price point of instrument. And they run the whole length. It's quite an unusual bracing pattern. So you've got the X brace, and then you've got a reverse tone bar, and then 2 tone bars coming down this side, the top E side. So you got like a little card stack type thing, you know, you kids in pubs, you know, your dad would be going for a drink and the kid would be making a card stack in the corner. I did that quite a lot. Anyhow, these are buttered up, but you can see how nicely that's been done. The Taylor was super gappy all over the place, so this has been nicely buttered up. The ends of the braces have been shaped to fit, and then you see the X, and you can see what I'm talking about with the Taylor. That X has been notched, so one brace goes over the other. So the X brace is 2 full length bars that go through the entire instrument. That is what we want to see, people. That is more complex of a build, but really when you're mass producing instruments, it's really not that difficult. Just go ahead and do it. So that is what we're looking at on the tone bar and the X brace. Let's have a little look at the back now. So the back strip is spruce, some type of whitewood, and we have bracing as well. So we've got the ladder bracing down the back. Now this ladder bracing, if I can get above it, see how well carved that is. It's just nicely carved. No glue spurge out anywhere, it's all nice and clean. It's what we like to see. So the cutaway, that brace goes right into the cutaway and is stepped into the kerfing. Let's look at the top. Yep, same goes there with the transverse brace. So the transverse brace is the big brace that goes along the top. It stops the fingerboard pushing into the top, also stops the sound hole warping a little bit. We didn't actually cover that on the Taylor. The Taylor didn't really have much of a transverse brace. It did have one, but so that, oh yeah, that patch is where the battery box has fallen off. So it's quite common, you can see on the kerfing there that it's a bit sticky, so the battery box wasn't fully affixed to that side. It's got some residue there. So that's the transverse brace there, and then behind it you can see the neck block, which is mahogany, grain going horizontal, what I like to see, with the laminated fingerboard block. And yeah, you see those two black lines there? That, people, is carbon fibre. So they laminate their neck blocks with 2 inserts of carbon fibre, and that gives structural integrity onto that patch underneath the fingerboard there. So, without going into like crazy detail, I hope that like this is detailed enough, I think, for everyone. What we've got here, technically 3 tone bars, all carved, mahogany bridge plate, stepped over X brace, mahogany end block, which is well carved, the bracing steps, that's a bad example because that's a popsicle, the bracing steps into the kerfing, and the neck block has been laminated with carbon fibre and is also mahogany. Those cover the bolts, so this is a bolt-on neck, you can take those off quite easily. So yes, what I will say is that the internals of this Mayson you won't really see on a Taylor until it gets to about roughly 1899. So add another £1,000 onto the Taylor, and then this is kind of the quality you'll be getting. So for people that say you get a lot of money, a lot of guitar for your money with Taylor, I can not disagree with you more. There's so many good options out there that if you open your eyes and take the brand blinkers off, you can really get an awful lot of guitar for your money. So this Mayson, there's not many guitars on the market that have this quality of internals and this quality of woods and just general build, feel and playability, the whole lot, for this kind of price point. I mean, this is a easy 1,500 quid worth of guitar at 875, and you get a bag. So the Taylor also comes with a bag, this one you get a bag too. So it's quite incredible comparing these two instruments to really what you can get. So let's have a quick look at something a little bit out there. Actually, screw it. Let's have a quick look at the Taylor again, because I don't feel like I covered everything with the Taylor. I feel like I was just slamming it quite a bit. So let's restart this camera and let's check the well, you can immediately see, you know, burnt braces, lining made of plywood, end block which is just a thin 1.5mm bit of ply. Yeah, you can see the difference straight away, right? One thing that I was going to mention, which I didn't, you can see the lining there, there's a gap in the lining. So it's just multiple bits, whatever they got lying around, kind of slap it in. You're all good. See, that's very clear up there. There's a gap in the lining, lots of glue overspill, awful amount of glue. That looks like, it doesn't look like a wood glue because it's so yellow, it looks like some sort of fish or hide glue or something. Then the cutaway, that is stepped into the lining, but it's just a secondary bit of lining added, I think. Yeah, secondary bit added. The transverse brace, hello. The transverse brace is here. Does that butt in? Yeah, that's a butt join. So the X brace is butted in up to the transverse. That is quite a chunky transverse brace. So at least the thing's not going to warp there anytime soon, but that's also going to take away quite a lot of tone. One thing I wanted to show you was how these were joined. See that? They're just gappy. And your tone bar, see if I can reach all the way down there. See that? The tone bar's not shaped at all to fit the X brace. That is just slapped on. So those were a few bits that I wanted to show you in comparison to the Mayson, where the Mason's tone bars were shaped to fit the X brace. They weren't locked into the X brace, but they were at least shaped to fit, so you get a better butt join. Yeah, see that? Big gaps. Big gaps. I wonder what glue they use because it's so yellow. It's pretty gnarly. That's the ES2 system there. Oh, you can see the pinhole there that they use to position everything. Yeah, I mean, for the most part, there's not a huge amount to talk about because there's not a huge amount in it. It's very, very stripped back and not in a good way. So let's look at something wild, alright? Right, so let's look at something wild. So comparing the Taylor to a £500 Tanglewood. You know, Tanglewood is a reputable brand. They make some good quality guitars, but they also don't go super high end with their guitars like Taylor do. They're more budget and beginner friendly. So this is a kind of middle of the pack Taylor. So I thought this one would be a fair enough comparison. So let's start the internal camera now, and let's have a little look. So straight off the back we have, let's look at the end block. Where am I? Yeah, it is mahogany. The grain is in the wrong direction, but so they're gluing the top and the back to end grain. I would personally, I mean, it's easier to build them this way, I guess, but yeah, no, I would have the grain running horizontally there, but it is an end block and it's relatively a block. How thick is that? Let's try and get the camera deep. Okay, so it ain't thick. That's kind of shaped. So that's a good 6mm. It's not like massively thick, but it is mahogany and it's better than a sheet of plywood. That's for sure. The kerfing is actual kerfing. That looks like some whitewood. Like maple, probably, maybe spruce. See if I can see a bit on this side. Hard to tell. It's probably going to be spruce. A battery box. I don't like those battery boxes, but that's my personal preference. Quick and easy to change battery, I guess. Oh look! Once I get my hands in the right position, that bracing is stepped inside the kerfing. Hello. And quite nicely, in fact. Bloody hell. This cameraman, I need to stand up. So let's have a little look at the bracing itself. So what do we have here? We've got 2 tone bars down the bottom. They are reverse tone bars. They are relatively nicely shaped. The ends could be shaped a little bit nicer, but they look like they step in. Let's try and get in a bit closer. These electroacoustic guitars, man, they don't make this bit easy. Ooh. Yeah, so the tone bars are even stepped under the kerfing. That's quite nice. That's some good structural rigidity there. The X-brace is butt jointed, but it's got a nice big cap there. Look at that. So that's something the Taylor didn't have, was the cap over the X-brace. It kind of faux it being one brace, so it kind of moves, or you'd imagine it kind of moves as one. The side braces, yeah, I mean they're alright, they're very basic. They haven't been shaped to fit the X-brace like the Mayson, but then again we're looking at a guitar that's almost half the price. It's got marks inside from the factory. Yeah, cool. So let's look at the back. So the back is ladder braced. Those braces are pretty nicely shaped. They are pretty nicely notched into the kerfs. We've got the spruce center strip running down because it's a 2-piece back. That's nicely done. It's relatively chunky, that's good. So the cutaway, it's a Venetian cut. What have we got in terms of reinforcement here? The transverse brace runs straight into the cutaway, which is good to see. See if we can see that transverse brace. Oh, you're seeing a bit of my hand there. Yeah, that transverse brace is a transverse brace. They're never much exciting, but they do the job we need them to do. On the side of the sound hole, I hope I'm not making anyone ill with this camera, you have some little strips of spruce. That's to reinforce the sound hole there. That's quite cool to see. And let's look at the neck block. Well, hey, we've got horizontal grain, guys. So the top and the back are glued nicely down to horizontal grain. Yeah, that all looks good to me. Oh, there's quite a big extension there on the neck block. Let's see what kind. There's a mahogany. Looks like a Sapele mahogany. Right, you can see the truss rod cover seat hiding behind there. That's quite a loose grain. It's not that dense of a wood, that. But it does have the reinforcement there. So let's see if I can get an overall image. Oh yeah, just so you know, this is a TW4e. The VC means Venetian cutaway, and this is the black walnut model. Cool. So yeah, just to recap, we have mahogany end block, we've got spruce kerfling, we've got back bracing, which is spruce, we have a cap over the X-brace, we've got 2 tone bars that are alright shaped, relatively nicely shaped. We have a mahogany bridge plate, which has a little bit chipping in, just means that someone's pushed a little bit too hard with the drill. The braces kind of meet the X brace, a little side bracing there. I forget what these are called. Little popsicle type things. They're done that, but a little bit better than the Taylor. The Taylors were just floating there, which kind of don't really do much. All of the braces are notched into the kerfing and relatively nicely. We have the mahogany neck block running in with the grain running in the right direction. So yeah, let's stop that now. So quick overview. Internally, this Tanglewood has got more to talk about than the Taylor. And really, look, I want to get this clear. I'm not trying to bash Taylor guitars, okay? Taylor makes some great guitars, but I just feel like their budget guitars are very budget and overpriced. That Taylor that we looked at, the 114CE-S, the CE means cutaway electrics and the S means spruce. So it's a Taylor 114. That is £879, and internally you're getting much more with the £500 Tanglewood. And to be honest with you, even the £250 Tanglewoods, I reckon you're probably still getting a bit more internally with. It only having one tone bar is a massive issue. That is why there's bellying. It's a flaw from the construction, from day one, from the design of the guitar all the way through. So the problem with the warranty is that the humidity clause would mean that that's not warrantable in that current state. But after 6 months, it would have needed to be dunked into a river to have that much moisture in to cause that much of a belly. So realistically, that thing is on the point of falling apart because it's not got enough structure inside it. The design is flawed from the get-go. So to fix that, one, it needs to be dried out, let the wood settle, let it be without tension for as long as possible. But really, it needs another tone bar added. And it needs a tone bar, ideally, which is not going to be possible from fiddling around through the sound hole, that stitches into the X-brace and the kerfing to give it that structural rigidity that it needs. So really the only thing you can do through the sound hole, and it's quite lucky you don't have back braces because you can then slide a brace in, is just stick another brace in and hope it does something. But realistically, you know, without stitching it in, it's not going to do an awful lot. So that guitar is very flawed and it's very expensive. In comparison to that Mayson, which was £875, £4 cheaper, still get a bag. The internals of that Mayson, all of those braces were stitched. The X braces stepped over each other. The neck block had carbon fibre reinforcement. The kerfing was mahogany. All of the braces stitched in the kerfing. I mean, all of the end block, the grain was running in the right direction. All of this kind of stuff means that you've ended up with a guitar for life. It's just not going to go wrong. Whereas, you know, a customer unfortunately bought that Taylor and 6 months later the thing is pulling itself apart. And this is not, I mean, I see these a couple of times a week to, you know, like a dozen times a month, hence why I'm making this video. Do some further research if you're thinking about buying a guitar, and do some research on other brands, and come into a shop like us, and we're happy to get this camera out. You know, it's a bit of a faff, but I'm happy to pull this camera out and you can have a little look inside stuff. Why not? If it helps you understand the instrument from the inside out, knowing what you're buying is a really, really big and important thing. And yeah, I mean, there's some snake oil out there, guys, and I don't want you to succumb to the snake oil. So, in conclusion, don't take this as a tailor bashing video. It's not. There are tailors that I thoroughly love and enjoy, and I don't think all the models are hideously overpriced, although you do pay a brand premium. Take this from the standpoint of, look at what else is out there. With a company like Taylor, Martin, Fender, Gibson, all of those guys have got £1 million marketing budgets, and they use them to their fullest potential. And it sells the general population on them. Not a problem. There's some good guitars in the mix. But inherently, they are all mass produced. So, looking at a smaller output factory like Mayson, who only make that brand, they don't make anything else. Although they're in kind of light water at the moment, they don't really exist currently. But we still have stock of them. Just taking that as an example, you can see the quality you can get for the same amount of money, you know? And it is literally, to get the same quality of Mayson, you're going to be talking 18 to £2,000 in the Taylor range to get the same quality as that for less than £1,000. It's quite incredible. So really, educate yourselves, people. You're not going to regret it. You're going to end up a better musician. You're going to end up with a better instrument that's going to treat you better and last longer. And don't buy things with built-in sell-by dates. It is the world we're living in. Smarten up to it. Anyhow, I'm waffling along and waffling too much. I'll see you in the next one. Stay classy, all of that jazz. Have fun watching this incredibly long, informative, camera-crazed video. I will do more of these soon. Cheers, guys.